All right, today we're cracking open a big one of the most talked about personal finance books ever written, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The whole thing is built around this really powerful story of two father figures and the completely different lessons they taught about money. So the entire book, and I mean the entire thing, really hinges on this one central conflict, this battle between two totally different ways of thinking about money, personified by these two dads. Okay, so on one hand, you have Poor Dad. That was Kiyosaki's real father. And he's the picture of what we're all told success looks like, right? Super educated, great job, very secure. He followed the rules. But then on the other side, you have Rich Dad, who was his friend's father. This guy didn't have all the fancy degrees, but he had something else, a mindset for business and investing. And that, well, that's what made him incredibly wealthy. So this just sets up the central question of the book. I mean, both men were smart, both worked hard. So why did one end up financially free while the other one struggled his whole life? The answer is not what you'd probably guess. And here's the big reveal. The book argues that the real difference maker isn't your salary. It's not your education. The thing that truly separates the rich from everyone else is financial intelligence. And maybe even more important than that, your fundamental mindset. Poor Dad's view was one we've all probably heard a million times. He had this sense of caution, even fear around money. You know, this idea that wanting money is somehow greedy or bad, which, ironically, often keeps people from actually learning how it works. But Rich Dad? Whoa. He flipped that idea completely upside down. He argued that it's the lack of money that causes the real problems: stress, missed opportunities, a lack of freedom. For him, money wasn't evil. It was just a tool. And this, right here, this is the perfect example of that mindset shift in action. Poor Dad would say, "I can't afford it." And that's it. Conversation over. It's a statement that just shuts your brain down. But Rich Dad taught him to reframe it as a question. Okay, how can I afford it? That one tiny change forces your brain to stop making excuses and start looking for solutions. It's a total game changer. This problem-solving approach leads us right into what is, without a doubt, the single most important lesson in the entire book. You absolutely have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Now, that sounds super basic, I know, but Kiyosaki's point is that most of us get this dangerously wrong.
Rich Dad's definition is just beautifully simple. An asset isn't just something you own that's valuable. It's something that actively makes you money. It puts cash in your pocket.
And you can see the common thread here, right? All of these things are designed to generate cash flow. We're talking rental income, stock dividends, business profits. They're all working for you, putting money into your bank account even when you're not actively working. And on the flip side, you've got liabilities. And again, the definition is just as simple and direct. A liability is anything that constantly takes money out of your pocket. Now, this is where the book really starts to stir the pot for a lot of people. Car payments, credit card debt, okay. Those are obvious liabilities. But look at what else is on the list. Your primary residence. The book's controversial argument is that since your house costs you money every single month, mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs, without putting any income back into your pocket, it's actually a liability, not the great asset we're all told it is. And this brings us to the book's really blunt conclusion. The rich spend their money and their energy acquiring assets. The rest of us, we spend our money acquiring liabilities that we've been tricked into thinking are assets, trapping ourselves in this endless cycle of working just to pay the bills. So once you really get that core difference, what's next? How do you actually apply this stuff? Well, the book lays out a few other key ideas to get you started. This is basically the escape plan from what he calls the rat race. Look, step one, you start where most people are. You work for money. But here's the crucial pivot. Instead of just spending that money on liabilities, you use it to buy assets. Over time, those assets start generating their own income, which you then use to buy more assets. And eventually, you hit the jackpot. Your money is now working for you instead of the other way around. Rich Dad also hammers home a few other points. One, your financial education never stops. School is just the beginning. He also says, especially when you're young, to take jobs for what you can learn, not just what you can earn. Learn skills like sales or marketing. And finally, you have to get comfortable with taking calculated risks and understanding how the system, like taxes, really works instead of just being afraid of it. So let's step back a bit. What's the final verdict on this book? I mean, it sold millions of copies, but it also has its fair share of critics. How should we actually think about this advice for our own lives? It's really important to look at the book with a balanced view. Its greatest strength is, without a doubt, its simplicity. It tells a story, it's easy to read, and it's incredibly motivational. But, on the other hand, it is not a technical how-to guide. Critics correctly point out that it's pretty repetitive and, it can definitely oversimplify some really complex financial topics. But at the end of the day, that's really the key takeaway here. You don't read Rich Dad Poor Dad to learn how to do a discounted cash flow analysis on a stock. That's not the point. You read it to have a fundamental aha moment about how you think about money, about your job, and about building wealth. Its real value is lighting that fire and getting you to start your own journey. And so that leaves us with the book's final and maybe most important challenge, one that's aimed squarely at you and me. Take a hard, honest look at where your money is going each month. Is it going towards building an asset column that will support you in the future? Or is it mostly just flowing out the door to pay for liabilities? Because, as the book suggests, your answer to that one question might just decide your entire financial future.